Hi, I'm Derek Coates with Dormicaba. Today we're going to be looking at the E7900 cylindrical lock. Now, full disclosure here, the lock I have here was a mortise lock. I have changed some parts inside to show what you would get if you ordered the cylindrical version. Basically, if you took the part number here and changed the 67 to a 51, you would get these parts that I have here. So let's take a look at what's in here. First, we have our instruction sheet. I highly recommend you read this instruction book, follow it. It's very helpful. Another thing that comes in here is this handy guide. It tells you how to put the key override into the lock. So the keyway that goes in here is actually used to hold the lever onto the lock. And sometimes, if you hadn't done these before, it can be a little bit of a pain to get in. So these instructions go over exactly how to do it and makes it where it's really easy. So I've also got a gasket here. Highly recommend using the gasket. Exterior doors, even interior doors, especially if you're in a place like down south where it's 100 degrees outside, 110, and inside the unit it's more like 60 degrees, 70 degrees. You're going to get a storm of humidity right there at the door. Using your gasket helps keep all that out of the unit and not getting inside the lock. So your gasket's important. I also have our lever for our lock. Comes packaged up so it doesn't get scratched up. Now this lever is for our key override. If you ordered this standard, you would get, I believe it's the Schlage C keyway in here, but it goes right in this hole. You can also order this as electronic override where there is no hole at all, or you can order it as SFIC, small format. That we like to call best prep, but it would have that figure 8 cut out for that core to go into it. We have our battery cover and 4 AA batteries, and there's the torque screws in here also. So lock does operate off standard 4 AA batteries. We have our back plate here. This is for the cylindrical lock. I typically call this a cylindrical hub just to kind of describe it. So this is what your latch would actually attach to, and I'll show you the latch here also. So this is the latch. It hooks into this hub. That's your cylindrical version of the lock. Now this one is 2 3/4 back set. It is not an adjustable back set. So if you have a door that's 2 3/8, please order the correct back set there. The 51 is the 2 3/4, the 52 is the 2 3/8. So make sure you order the correct back set. Another trick you could do is actually order all of them the same, but keep a stock of other latches there in your office. So that's what I typically do with mine. I've ordered the 2 3/4, but I keep a stock of 2 3/8 latches. That way I can just swap out the latch if I have a door that needs that. Makes it a lot easier. We also have our plate. Now this is your standard ANSI 4 7/8 cutout plate for our cylindrical lock. The screws it comes with are combo screws, so they're threaded to go in a wood door or metal. So we have our hardware pack here. This has quite a few goodies in it. It's got some spacers for that cylindrical hub. The hub is set by default for a 1 3/4 inch door. And in the instructions, it actually tells you how to adapt it for different thicknesses. We can go all the way down to 1 3/8 by removing some of these spacers in here. Or for a thicker door, I think we go up to 2.5 if memory serves. There's some spacers in here that can be added to this stack along with longer screws to go in to hold them in place. So that's all in here. Oh, and I forgot a note. This is set by default for a right-handed door, but I can order it as left-hand, or if I've got a left-handed door and I ordered it right-hand, simply remove these 2 screws, rotate this hub 180 degrees, put those 2 screws back in. Now it's a left-handed door. Simple as that. But in this pack, I've got those spacers, I've got the mounting screws to mount the lock to the door, I've got my springs for the levers, I've got my spindle, my privacy spindle, all the different pieces here. If this pack actually came from a best prep door, a small format override, so you actually see my tail pieces to go on that small format core here. I can do a 6-pin or a 7-pin, so I've got both tail pieces here. If I actually ordered this with a standard key override, my pack would look more like this one. It would actually have that core and key here in the pack. So you see I've just kind of grabbed a pack out of a different one, but this is what you would see. So all your pieces you need to mount this locker in here, especially these little standoffs. I like to point these out, especially if you're dealing with like a hollow metal door. These standoffs are good for when you tighten that lock down on the door, it helps to keep from crushing that lock into the door. So very important to use those. All right, what else do we have in here? We've got our front lock housing. Now, depending on exactly how you order this, this may look different. You may have more or less cables than this. You also would have one cable that's a little different because, like I said, I used a mortise lock and just changed out some parts because these locks are very similar. For a cylindrical lock with a door status on it, remember our mortise lock, we actually plug a cable into that mortise cassette for our door status. Well, a cylindrical lock, we don't do that. The cable would look more like this one. It would be just a pair of wires, and you see I've got them twisted together here. It'd be a pair of wires, and what I would do is just drill a standard door contact in the side of the door, say a 3/4 inch recess contact, drill it in the side of the door and then connect it to this and then put the magnet in the frame. That way I can monitor my door status. So it would look like that one. You see this one is a little bit different. It only has 3 cables in it because of the options I chose. This one happens to have 5. Like I said, depending on how you order it, you may have more, may have less. This actually is set up for privacy, so I've got a place for my privacy spindle to pop in and my door lock spindle to pop in there. And in the bottom here, we have our back plate. Now, as I said, I started with the mortise lock and changed some parts out. This back plate technically is for a mortise lock. I can tell by looking at the assembly here, this is my mortise one. For a cylindrical one, it would look more like this. I would have a round piece here when I have privacy thumb turn on there. But if I didn't have a thumb turn on it, it would actually look like this one. Nothing in here at all because there's no thumb turn to turn anything. So this has just the 2 cables, the one for my Zigbee antenna and the one for my power. You see this one's one I'd actually already put together a little bit. It's got my return lever spring in it, so my lever pops back up the way it should. So different versions of this lock may have slightly different features on the lock, but they're all pretty similar. Once you've put one in, you figure out how to do all the others. And these cables, one of the nice things about it, they're all keyed and you really can't plug them in the wrong place because they only go one way. So we try to make it easy on you there. But that is the parts that are in here. Yep, that's everything that's in my box. So these are all the parts that come with the E7900 cylindrical lock. Thank you very much.